Hello and a warm welcome to Trust TV News Hour. On the news tonight. Plight of ex-servicemen, widows in the front burner as Nigeria marks Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Boko Haram fighters ambushed Chibok town, killed 3 and burned down houses. Tension in Imo State as gunmen invade Divisional Police Headquarters, kill inspector. And in sports, Nigeria's Super Eagles inflict defeat on Sudan's Falcons in AFCON. Hello and welcome again. My name is Chijoke Okafo. Now on the news in detail. At least 3 civilians have been killed when Boko Haram fighters raided a village in Chibok local government area of Borno State on Friday evening. Reports say the insurgents stormed Kautikeri village near Chibok town, shooting sporadically and burning down several houses. According to the reports, the attackers came with 5 utility vehicles mounted with anti-aircraft guns and moved without any resistance. While Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, alongside service chiefs, the Nigerian Legion, and millions of Nigerians have paid tributes to the fallen heroes of the First and Second World Wars and the Nigerian Civil War. This was done during the laying of wreath at this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day at the National Cenotaph in Abuja's Eagle Square. The report. The Eagle Square in Abuja was fully packed with different colored uniforms as members of the military and paramilitary services, both serving and retired, all gathered to witness the Armed Forces Remembrance Day 2022. Although the celebration is coming at a time when the country is going through deep security challenges, it still stands as a sign of hope and peace to over 200 million Nigerians. President Muhammadu Buhari, alongside service chiefs and dignitaries from around the world, shared goodwill messages to the families of veterans who made sacrifices for the country to remain as one during the Nigerian Civil War. Speaking on the event, National Chairman, Nigerian Legion, Major General Abdul Malik Jibrin, retired, said that the essence of the ceremony is not only to honor memories of late soldiers, but to uphold the dignity of the ones still alive.
Today is a fulfillment of the day set aside by the federal government to remember the contribution, the sacrifices made by our fallen heroes that have fought First and Second World War, and then down to the Nigerian Civil War, then internal security operation that we have had, and now we are confronting the insurgency in the northeast and the banditry in the northwest and other places in the country. So it's a day set aside to remember all those who made the supreme sacrifice during these various operations.
Another Armed Forces veteran and media director, Coalition of Concerned Veterans, Dr. Oemen Roy Okidevbe, says the significance of the day holds no meaning if they are still Civil War veterans who continue to struggle with proper intervention from the government.
I have not hidden my comments. Okay, I still believe that the Armed Forces Remembrance Day is still a scam, and I say it every time. This is the first time that I will be attending it because just after our recent protest, we met with the Minister of Defense and the Ministry of Finance, and they employed us to be here to witness for ourselves. And I take a catchment from what the MCs, the umpires were saying. They mentioned specifically that people that are contributing to this should look towards the children of the fallen heroes.
A military widow, Mariam Zakari, bemoaned the suffering of most widows like herself, who have been left to cater for themselves and their families after the death of the breadwinner. She appeals for better structures to be put in place so as to make the standard of living better for people like her.
Our challenge is that the army that's supposed to be paying us our children's sponsorship, some years they will not pay. Even till now, the widows that are waiting for their sponsorship, they will not get it. And our second challenge is that just as they have this parade today now, They will be telling them to help our fallen hero children. After finish their university school, they will not help us to give our children job.
Right behind me is the National Cenotaph, where wreaths have just been laid in honor of late veterans who laid their lives for Nigeria to remain as one. The Armed Forces Remembrance Day 2022 has just come to an end, and part of issues raised is the fact that the federal government should not only throw elaborate ceremonies to honor late veterans, but also ensure that modalities are put in place for living veterans and their families to have a comfortable life. From the Eagle Square, Abuja, Chijoke Okafo, reporting for Trust TV News. Still staying with the Armed Forces Remembrance Day ceremony, retired military personnel say one major challenge that has plagued most Nigerian military veterans is the lack of welfare that comes after retirement. They say oftentimes the disabled, the sick and the aged among them are left not honored with the same amount of respect and dignity they once served their nation with. The concerned veterans have addressed a press conference in Abuja to further press home their demands to the federal government. Take a look. Every 15th day of January, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day is held to celebrate the sacrifices of war veterans in the mission to uphold the peace, unity, and dignity of Nigeria. Away from these elaborate ceremonies with parades and gun salutes and wreath laying, the reality of the kind of harsh living conditions Nigerian military veterans have been subjected to is nothing to write home about. The coalition of concerned veterans have held a press briefing on the Armed Forces Remembrance Day to express their grievances about the poor treatment of veterans by the government.
The Nigerian military veterans have had a lot of decades of neglect. And you remember those days you used to see where veterans would be on the street and trying to maybe press for their demands, and you see people carrying their corpses that one or two of them fell down dead. So we had to come together, we had to create relationship with the government, because the government has not seen it fit to actually maintain hospitable desk that could communicate with the veterans. The Veterans Affairs Department of the Ministry of Defense has not been able to properly put in perspective communication lines, and the Military Pension Board. So when we came together, we were the ones that brokered this relationship, and we kept information flow to the body of veteran community.
Media Director, Coalition of Concerned Veterans, Dr. Oamian Roy Okidivbe, further conveyed the group's disappointment while making demands which include review of the wide disparity in pay and pension across the ranks of serving and retired personnel.
So that means after I die, my pension stops, all my support from government stops because I am late. What about my loved ones? What about the children whom some of them have gone to join the military? There is nothing outside when you leave the office. So is it not time for the government to say, let us put as an order to pay this debarment allowance immediately the guy is getting his gratuity, and to pay all of the arrears? Is it not time to say, as express instruction, the 24 months outstanding, pay it at once so people can get buffer to begin to get their life back?
Some war veterans who sustained various degrees of injuries in the line of duty and have not been duly compensated spoke about the pain of living after service. At the end of the day, these men and women who gave their all to the service of the nation are only seeking for better healthcare service, better pensions, and general assistance from the country that they once served. Chijoke Okafo, Trust TV News, Abuja. Widows of the fallen heroes in Zamfara State have expressed concern that government has neglected them and their children. They said most of them can hardly feed, pay their children's school fees, or pay for rent. Coordinator of Army Widows Association of Fallen Heroes in Zamfara State, Mujida Muhammad, said this while addressing newsmen shortly after the Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Gusau, the Zamfara State capital, where she said the federal and Zamfara State government do not recognize them.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day is an annual and nationwide event to honor the sacrifices and labor of the fallen heroes in the country. The fallen heroes have left behind wives, children, and parents, which authorities are expected to cater for. To demonstrate their appreciation for the efforts and sacrifices such gallant officers and soldiers made to keep Nigeria as one indivisible entity. But to these widows of the fallen heroes in Zamfara State, said they have been abandoned to their fate as no help is coming from anywhere, and even the government has not recognized them and their children. The coordinator of Army Widows Association of Fallen Heroes in Zamfara State, Northwest Nigeria, Mujida Mohammed, wants government to look into their plight by empowering and providing skill acquisition program as well as little business capital to make them economically self-reliant.
I'm not happy the way things are happening. We are the family of the fallen heroes. Army Remembrance Day has been celebrating because of the family of the fallen heroes. But here in Zamfara State, they are not recognizing the family of the fallen heroes. I'm not happy about it. I think celebration of Army Remembrance Day is nationwide, something they do in all states. But in my own state here, Zamfara, the way things are going, I'm not happy.
Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawali inspects guards parade and performed the wreath-laying and release of pigeons to symbolize peace and unity of the country. Governor Mohammed enjoined the military and sister security agencies to be proactive in waging the security challenges currently facing the state in particular and the country in general.
We look forward to working with you to address the state remaining security challenges on next. I therefore wish to crave the indulgence of all stakeholders to redouble their effort toward assisting security agencies with vital information that will lead to combating the security challenges. I also wish to appeal to security agencies operating in the state to be more proactive and remain professional in the discharge of your constitutional assignment. You must also adhere to and operate within the external, local, and international laws guiding your operations by showing compassion and respect to all law-abiding citizens.
Zamfara State, where bandits' activities fester, has seen deployment of military personnel.
Widows of officers and men of the Nigeria Army have demanded for payment of their life insurance to enable them take care of their children as Nigeria Army celebrates the 2022 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. The widows who stormed the venue of the celebration in Minna, in their numbers with some of them backing their babies, said they have been neglected long after their husbands had been killed in the line of duty. They also appealed to the military authority to assist in sponsoring the education of children of fallen heroes and appreciated the Nigerian Army for the support. Nigerians should forgive but not forget the brutal assassination of leaders by the coup plotters of the January 15, 1966 military incursion that truncated the First Republic in the spirit of unity and cohesion. Al-Rufai speaks on the sidelines of this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration in Kaduna, Northwest Nigeria. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
This is a very important day for every Nigerian to remember. This was the day our leaders were assassinated. 15th of January 1966, Ahmad Bello Sardauna of Sokoto, Sabo Katafa Balewa, a host of military leaders, General Malari, Colonel Kuru Mohammed, Yakubu Pam, Lagema, all our senior officers in the armed forces and our political leaders were assassinated on this day. And since then, the country has never been the same. I think it's a lesson for all of us to remember and reflect upon. Continue to forge unity and move forward. Forgive, but never forget the lessons of this kind of irrational actions which truncated our First Republic. We pray for the souls of the departed. We pray for the souls of all those that lost their lives in the defense of our country.
15th January every year is set aside to commemorate the fallen heroes, those who have paid the supreme price in keeping the peace, in ensuring that Nigeria remains peaceful as it is today. They have made valuable contributions in several fields, both in internal and external conflicts. And it is also a day that is set aside to take a look at the plight of the ex-servicemen and their families. These ex-servicemen have also made sacrifices to keep Nigeria one. So it is a day to look at how they are faring in our contemporary Nigeria. And the day normally has a line of events, including a review of parade, the 21 gun salutes, the laying of the wreath, and of course the release of the white pigeons, amongst others. Today's event is taking place at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium here in Kaduna, and I have with me one of the ex-servicemen who will be sharing his experiences and of course how he remembered this very important day.
It is said we are supposed to be looked after. The government is trying its own, but they need more. They need to try more. Because I will give an example, like in Kaduna State here, we have over 5,000 widows. And with the meager resources I realized during the launch, you cannot do anything with it. If you look at the cost of running an office, then you have staffs to pay. After paying staff, what will be left to touch the lives of these widows, to touch the lives of some disabled ex-servicemen who are still alive? So the government needs to do more.
Kaduna is regarded as a garrison city where all the forces are actually located. From Ahmadu Bello Stadium here in Kaduna, Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News.
Armed Forces Remembrance Day is celebrated on January 15th each year to honor veterans of world wars and the Nigerian Civil War. It is a day set aside for sober reflections on the sacrifices of the armed forces to the country. Trust TV's Fatima Musa speaks to some Nigerians in Abuja who used the opportunity to call on the government to do more in the fight against insecurity.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day is observed every January 15th to honor fallen heroes of the Nigerian Armed Forces in various wars and national assignments.
President Muhammadu Buhari was joined by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, the Senate President Ahmed Lawal, Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, the Chief Justice of the Federation, Justice Tanko Muhammad, and the service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, among other dignitaries. After prayers were said in both Christian and Islamic ways, President Buhari, who is the special guest of honor at the event, led a wreath to honor the fallen heroes. Professor Osibanjo and others took turns to pay respects to the soldiers who paid supreme price while protecting the nation's territorial integrity.
I think it's very okay. It's good to celebrate them today because I think after our president and others, they are the next people to be handled in terms of payments for our own security purpose. So I think they should pay them. To me, they have more experience on it. It's something that I've done before, so I think they know more about it. So they can support them on that.
Well, I think it's a very good thing to celebrate our fallen heroes because they've actually done well, helping our country, to fight all the insurgency, and I think it's worth celebrating them. Okay. Our government should not joke with our military pensions. I think they have to. I don't know how they are going to do it, but seriously, it is what they have done. Their pension is not something that our government should joke with. I think it's something that our government should look into it and make sure that they are paid for their service to their fatherland.
It's a good thing to celebrate the loss of our heroes. There's nothing bad in it, but I think there's more to it. We need to create an opportunity to remember them and take care of their family. if you are a leader, you should do the needful. These people have served the land, they have suffered on behalf of the masses, on behalf of the young ones, on behalf of the ancient people, ancient leaders, fathers. There's need for us to take care of them.
Actually, I want to commend the fallen heroes that have fought for Nigerians and those loved ones that they left behind, and I pray that God will continue to be with their loved ones. I believe this thing the government are doing concerning those servicemen that have served this country with the whole of their hearts is really, really, really painful. You cannot serve a country from your heart and you expected being treated like this, because I will serve a country and the end of the day it will not be like, say, I'm disabled, I cannot get what I want when I needed the country to help me out.
While Nigerians celebrate the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, they are also concerned about the insecurity in the country and urge the federal government to take major actions in dealing with the current situation. Fatima Musa, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Moving ahead, hoodlums in a white Hilux vehicle Friday night attacked the Nwidi police station in Oru West local government area of Imo State, killing a police inspector and injuring one of the officers. The State Police Public Relations Officer, Michael Abatam, confirmed this to newsmen in Owerri. He said the officers engaged the hoodlums in a gun battle and the hoodlums sustained gunshot injuries before they escaped. According to the police, aggressive manhunt of the hoodlums is ongoing with the sole aim of tracking and arresting the fleeing hoodlums since they cannot go far because of the huge damage done to them. You're still watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break. Grave consequences if 3 weeks end. Do stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
The Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, Resign, in collaboration with the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, will unveil world's largest rice pyramid in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. The event is scheduled to take place on the 18th of January 2022. Venue, Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Trade Fair Complex, Airport Road, Abuja. The pyramids will be unveiled by the special guest of honor and President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari. Other special guests that will support are the presidents of Benin Republic, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, as well as the governors of Cross River, Ebonyi, Kebbi, Jigawa, Ekiti, and Sokoto states. Chairman of the occasion, CBN Governor Dr. Godwin Emefiele, Chief Host, FCT Minister. Resign will also use the occasion to flag off its 2021-2022 dry season farming activities and celebrate the annual National Rice Festival. Resign has been the major driver of rice value chain under the Anchor Borrowers program for the past 6 years. Come and join us in celebrating Rice Revolution in Nigeria. Let's celebrate our President Muhammadu Buhari's initiative on food security and self-sufficiency in rice. Let's celebrate the Central Bank Governor, Dr. Godwin Emefiele, Resign, the driver of Rice Revolution in Nigeria, Announcer, Publicity Committee.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. Now let's take a look at some of our top stories. You heard widows of the fallen heroes in Zamfara State have expressed concern that government has neglected them and their children. And at least 3 civilians have been killed when Boko Haram fighters raided a village in Chibok, local government area of Borno State on Friday evening. Moving on to other news now. Concern over the security challenges in the country is the highlight of Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Gombe State. The state government therefore calls for strengthened collaboration to tackle the menace. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
The 2022 Armed Forces Remembrance Day is being celebrated at a time when Nigeria is facing multiple security challenges. And this is how Governor Inouye of Gombe State, represented by his deputy Manasa Daniel Jato, paid respect to the fallen heroes who paid the supreme price while fighting for peace in the country. The Gombe State government, while paying respect to the fallen heroes, show concern on the current security situation across the country.
The people of Gombe State, and indeed Nigeria, remains resolute in supporting activities of the Legion and other security forces, whatever they do and wherever they do it, once it's for the internal security of the country. We enforce much on them, the security agencies, the Legion, and every other person, especially these days of insecurity that is getting nearer to us day by day. At the rate it is worsening, only our coming together as one body, as one person, as one tribe, as one religion can see us through. I appeal for relevant and timely information sharing to relevant security agencies for the solution to issues that have been developing us. Much as these challenges remain with us, we are determined to overcome them. Just like one of the holy books informed us, there is no disease or problem that is presented to mankind without the Creator first presenting his solution. I urge all of us here to find out these solutions and apply them accordingly to overcome our uncomfort. This is possible if we abide by our culture and above all, look unto God and go by his manual of living together.
Speaking earlier during the launching of Emblem Appeal Fund for the Nigeria Legion on Friday, leader of the Legion, Sergeant Adamu Dogo, retired, called for support.
70% of these women sitting here before you were widows of our fallen heroes. Please assist them in some of your programs.
Gombe State government donated the sum of 5 million naira to the families of the fallen heroes. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
The Zamfara state government has directed the reopening of more shops, junctions and weekly markets in the state. This is contained in a statement issued by the Secretary to the State Government of the state, Kabiru Balarabe, who said the state governor, Bello Matawale, decided to review the ban with conditions. According to the statement, conditions applied to Lalan shops, Garejing Mailena shops and Yarhanya shops, included that the shop's owners will not accommodate any form of attachment to their shops. Both food vendors within the area will also be screened, while all activities at Kwanar Mailena should end by 8 p.m., while those at Lalan should end by 10 p.m. daily. Recall that the state government shut down weekly markets in August over incessant bandits attacks. Some shops in Gusau and local junctions where motorists pick up passengers were also shut down to checkmate bandits' informants. Now, at least 5 persons were killed when farmers and herders clashed in Imeko, Afon local government area of Ogun State, with houses, maize bands, motorcycles and other valuables set ablaze in the clash. The police public relations officer, Abimbola Oyeyemi, confirmed the incident on Saturday, but said no arrest had been made. Reports say the clash started on Wednesday when the herdsmen and some Ahori farmers engaged one another in a bloody clash at Idofa village, leading to loss of lives and property worth millions of naira. According to reports, the people of Aworo community in Yewa North local government area had chased the herdsmen from their village to Idofa in Imeko, killing 3 of them and their cows, with the Aworo people accusing the herders of destroying their farms and water sources through open grazing of cows, a practice the Ogun state government had banned. Senior staff of Nigerian universities gave 3 weeks ultimatum to the federal government to implement its demands, or it will embark on another strike. The National Vice President of Northeast Zone, Comrade Abdulkader Isa, at a press briefing in Maiduguri, described the government's sharing formula of earned payment rate of 75% to ASU and 25% to non-teaching staff as unacceptable. He said the union frowns at forceful retirements of its members, which is against condition of service, adding that the federal government should put in place additional security measures for the protection of lives and property.
We want the Minister of State for Education for saying that it is impossible for the unions to share the allowance equally because ASU have professors and readers who are far senior in salary than SANU and NASU, who are just librarians and laboratory workers. If a serving minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria can be so naive on how the university system operates, then it's very, very unfortunate. And there is no any form of distortion. After the agreement was signed, ASU went through the back door to criminally insert academic and allowances in their agreement just to change the other unions to justify their greed. We don't, and we will never join issues with them.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back right after the break. And you're welcome back. This is still News Hour. Moving on to more stories now. Elder statesman Tanko Yakase says Nigeria's political evolution has divided subversive tendencies, projecting that the country will survive to achieve the vision of its founding fathers. Yakase speaks to Trust TV on Armed Forces Remembrance Day.
But the military at that time was not interested in politics. I had a good number of friends in the military at that time. But that at that time, those who attempted the coup eliminated the political leadership from the north and the west. And they were unfortunately Igbo elements. That changed the entirety of the political nature of Nigerian politics at that time. Because the impression was created that Igbo staged this coup to take over control. Before then, there were certainly ethnic rivalry in different major groups, 3 major groups in Nigeria: Hausa Fulani, Northerners, Westerners, Easterners. So, being the Igbos, the rest of them, most of them, the only Yoruba man among them was what is called. The fortunate thing is that any time we started to correct the mistake of the first, the military will come and scuttle the effort, and we'll go back to square one. And this is what happened. I pray we are now 20 years away from military rule. But unfortunately, we are not out of the woods yet. Because those who led Nigeria till today had military background, who came to power through coup d'etat, not through election. Obasanjo, Buhari, whether you like it or not, Buhari, Obasanjo cannot build democracy in Nigeria. I'm not just criticizing them because they are military. The fact in the ground is that they are not able to build democracy. Obasanjo did not build democracy in Nigeria. There was an attempt, but he did not build democracy. Look at Buhari, who tried to contest election 3 times and failed, and succeeded in the 4th time through, by accident, the effort of one individual here. And he succeeded. And yet till today, the thing is half military, half civilian. But we are making progress. Our task is to eliminate that half, the other half, in the process, because time is in our favor.
This year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day is marked in Katsina State with calls on the federal government to address the plight of the ex-military personnel. The Katsina State Chairman, Nigerian Legion, Hashim Haruna, told Trust TV that their members have been subjected to untold hardships in spite of their efforts to keep Nigeria together when they were in active service. Trust TV's Abdullahi Yamadi completes the story.
Balling with 3 cartridges! Lock! Resign!
The chairman Nigerian Legion in Katsina State, Malam Hashim Haruna, who attributed some of their challenges to corruption and lack of good leadership, called on the federal government to consider the welfare of the ex-military officers as one of its priorities. Hashim Haruna also assured that the insecurity bedeviling the country will be a thing of the past if the ex-military personnel are involved, especially intelligence gathering and other aspects of addressing criminalities in the country.
I want to tell them that those people surrender their life, they join the Nigerian army. At least they should not take them as a bad egg. Those people, they are the correct Nigerians. Anybody who render his life join the Nigerian army, at least you have to rise up. And whoever served the army, even spent 10 years, not even 20 years. Like me, I served 20-something years with some. I served 21 years, 152 days. I served in the army. So even if it is 10 years I served, you have to check me, because I have done something better, because it's not easy to serve the army in 10 years with the rest and all this thing. Somebody whom you know that you pass him by any circumstances, but you come and disgrace him. He abuse you. At times he can beat you if he sees chance.
While contributing, the chairperson, Ex-Military Officers' Wives Association, Katsina State, Saadiya Musa Aliu, expressed worry over the condition and welfare of legionnaires in the state.
Matsayinmu na matan tsaron sojoji mu yanzu a nan dai Katsina mu ba mu bakin komi.
Our condition is pathetic. Even the pension is not coming as at when due. Most of us are in rented apartments. Some of our husbands are sick. Our children out of school. I appeal to the federal government to rescue us from our current situation. Though Governor Masari has been supportive, but we know he is not responsible for our condition. We thank him for everything. In his address during the 2022 Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Katsina, Governor Aminu Bello Masari commended the military for their efforts in addressing insecurity and other forms of criminalities across the country. He charged men and officers of the 17th Brigade, 213 Nigerian Air Force Forward Operations Base in Katsina to be more proactive in combating insecurity in Katsina State. Bello Masari also assured that the government will continue to encourage community engagement, community policing, and all other forms of engagement with stakeholders aimed at tackling the insecurity challenges bedeviling some parts of the state. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Cross Television News, Katsina.
Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak has urged Nigerians to continue to provide information to the military in order to end the insecurity in Nigeria. He also urged people to appreciate the sacrifices being made to keep the country together. The governor made the call in an interview with journalists during the Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Ilorin. The country, he added, is not appreciative enough of the sacrifices of its fallen heroes, commending the efforts of the federal government in enhancing their welfare.
Well, we honor their service to Nigeria, to humanity. We remember them, remember their service, and we'll continue to do that. The message to parents and Nigerians in general is to keep remembering the service that our servicemen have rendered to the nation and continue to render. We are not appreciative enough of the work they're doing. We keep talking about insurgency, insecurity every day, not thinking of the men out there in the field tackling the problem. If they're not there, we will not be in our homes. So let's take this moment to appreciate the men in uniform today and those even not in uniform, like the DSS and the DIA, and who are doing a yeoman's job to keep us safe. So let's appreciate those that have gone and those that remain alive. That's my message.
Moving on, Adamawa State Governor Ahmadu Fintiri has called on Nigerians to show respect to the nation's fallen heroes who paid the supreme price to ensure the continued corporate existence of the nation. He said one way to do this is to show concern for the families they left behind. Fintiri, who also carried out the traditional wreath laying at the tombs of deceased soldiers, insisted that the unity of the country remains non-negotiable. The report.
In Yola, the Armed Forces celebrations and annual ritual began with Jumat prayers, which held at Jumat Mosque, Air Force Base, Yola, followed thereafter with an interdenominational church service on Sunday at St. Stephen's Military Protestant Church. On the D-Day, however, after inspecting guard of honor and showing respect to fallen heroes with the laying of wreaths to honor the nation's fallen heroes, Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri called on citizens to show respect to her fallen heroes.
Pray and show respect to our fallen heroes, and also show concern for the heroes, and demonstrate that we must show unity among ourselves in the country. Mr. Samuel have died in maintaining the peace of this country. We that are still alive should also emulate and demonstrate that we will continue on the peace path, and Nigeria should be one at all times.
Governor Fintiri also insisted the unity of the country remains non-negotiable.
The togetherness of this country is non-negotiable. We'll continue to maintain one country and in peace and unity. And we leaders will also continue to deploy development so that the citizens will feel better and united. I think we have no other country than to keep the united Nigeria. This is the only option.
Northern Elders Forum, NEF, says the region will only vote for a competent president regardless of where he comes from in the 2023 general elections in the country. The convener, Northern Elders Forum, Ango Abdullahi, and the Director of Publicity and Advocacy of the Forum, Hakim Baba Ahmed, stated this in an interview with newsmen on the sideline of the meeting of Northern Leaders of Thoughts and Groups held at the Arewa House, Kaduna on Saturday. The NEF noted that it won't repeat the same mistake of voting for just any candidate as done to the President Muhammadu Buhari based on sentiment in 2015. Let's join Chairman Dabeng for the business news.
Board of Directors of Nigeria LNG Limited (NLNG) has approved the supply of 100% of the company's liquefied petroleum gas production, propane and butane, to the Nigerian market. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of NLNG, Philip Inshelbila, stated this in a statement by NLNG on Thursday to mark the company's strong commitment to the continued growth of the domestic LPG market and its passion to increase utilization of one of the most versatile energy sources in the world. He said, consequently, NLNG will prioritize the domestic market for 100% of its butane production, otherwise known as cooking gas, noting that the NLNG 100% supply into the local market may crash the price of cooking gas, which has been rising since March 2021 as suppliers blamed high foreign exchange, supply and tax issues. NLNG is currently the highest single supplier of LPG into the domestic market, with an estimated 400,000 metric tons supplied in 2021. Director General of Small and Medium Enterprises Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN, Diko Rada, says the contribution of the micro, small and medium enterprises MSMEs to employment in Nigeria rose by 3.7%. Rada stated this while citing the 2020 MSME survey jointly conducted by SMEDAN and the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). He said the increase is recorded despite the significant drop in the total number of MSMEs, which stood at over 39.6 million, and consequently 3.5% decrease in their contribution to gross domestic product, which he attributed to open global competitiveness, the worsening case of insecurity in the country, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. Office of the Auditor General of the Federation says 9 ministries, departments and agencies of the federal government spent about 49.5 billion naira above their approved budgets between 2018 and 2019. According to the report, the agencies allegedly violated Section 80, subsection 4 of the Constitution, which states that no money shall be withdrawn from the government account or any other public fund of the Federation, except in a manner prescribed by the National Assembly. The report raised the discrepancies in its 2019 annual report on non-compliance, internal control and weakness issues in MDAs for the year ended December 31st, 2019, submitted to the National Assembly. The agencies involved are the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Nigerian Police Force, Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Idi Araba, Lagos, Pharmacist Council of Nigeria, Abuja, FCT Internal Revenue Service, Nigeria Defense Academy, Rural Electrification Agency, Abuja Investment and Securities Tribunal, and the Nigerian Correctional Service. Federal government recorded a shortfall of 2.8 trillion naira in independent revenue from revenue-generating agencies between 2015 and 2019. Data from the Budget Office says, according to Fiscal Responsibility Act, revenue-generating government agencies must remit 80% of their operating surplus to the Consolidated Revenue Fund account. Some of these revenue-generating agencies include the Central Bank of Nigeria, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, Securities and Exchange Commission, Nigeria Shippers Council, Nigeria Export Promotion Council, National Health Insurance Scheme, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, and the Nigeria Communications Commission, amongst others. Over the years, many of these agencies have been underpaying revenue into the coffers of the federal government. The development has made it difficult for the federal government to achieve its revenue target based on the annual budget approved for the
Long-reigning paramount traditional ruler of Jukun people in Wukari and supreme leader of Kwadarafa Empire in Taraba State, Dr. Shekaro Angu Masa Ibi Kuvio II is confirmed dead. Amidst tears, the people of Kwadarafa came out en masse to honor the late paramount ruler of the kingdom and bid him farewell. Other kings, sympathizers, witnesses, and representatives of all the tribes in Taraba State, both male and female, old and young, home and abroad, were in attendance. They were draped in their traditional attire with their hair scrapped as the funeral procession and displays continued. Popularly known as the Aku Uka of Wukari, he died at the age of 85 after ruling for 45 years. A source disclosed that as a tradition, kings are not buried, but their corpse rides on a horse, transiting to an unknown destination known as Nando through Jugun holy ground called Puje, where they journey to meet their ancestors, accompanied by a horse bearer. Moving ahead to the foreign scene now, Pacific nation of Tonga issued a tsunami warning after an undersea volcano erupted on Saturday. Let's join Nafisa Abdelal for more foreign news.
Pacific nation of Tonga issued a tsunami warning after an undersea volcano erupted on Saturday, sending large waves crashing across the shore and people rushing to higher ground. There were no immediate reports of injuries or the extent of the damage, as communications in the island nation, home to about 100,000 people, remained down. New Zealand's military said it is monitoring the situation and remained on standby, ready to assist if asked. Report says a convoy of police and military troops evacuated Tonga's King Tupou VI from his palace near the shore, being among many residents headed for higher ground. The latest eruption of the Hanga Tonga Hapai volcano came just a few hours after lifting Friday's tsunami warning. The site said satellite images showed a 5-kilometer wide plume of ash, steam and gas rising into the air to about 20 kilometers. Russian troops returned from Kazakhstan. Russia's defense ministry says the troops that were deployed to Kazakhstan as violent demonstrations shook the country have returned home. The troops were part of a force sent as peacekeepers by the Collective Treaty Security Organization, a Russia-led alliance of 6 former Soviet states. The CSTO approved a force of over 2,000 on January 5 at the request of Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. The demonstration started on January 2nd to protest a sharp rise in fuel prices. They quickly spread nationwide and descended into violence within several days. Protesters stormed government buildings and set them ablaze, and dozens of people were killed in clashes with the country's security forces. The Russian Defense Ministry on Saturday said all of its planes carrying troops had returned, but it is not clear whether troops from other CSTO countries remain in Kazakhstan. Calls are growing for British Prime Minister Boris Johnson to resign after more revelations came to light about regular parties organized at Downing Street that broke COVID-19 lockdown rules, with Labour Party leader Keir Starmer saying Johnson is unable to lead. According to reports, the UK Prime Minister witnessed weekly one-time on Friday drinking sessions by his staff throughout the coronavirus pandemic, for which they installed a specially bought wine fridge. On Wednesday, Johnson apologized to Parliament for attending what he called a work event at a time when social mixing is banned. The drip feed threatens to overshadow reported plans by Johnson to relaunch his embattled premiership, starting with a relaxation of continuing pandemic restrictions later in the month. Whether Johnson and his staff knowingly broke the law during prior lockdowns is the central question being addressed in an inquiry by senior civil servant Sue Gray, who could report back next week. Reports say Gray is said to have been completely blindsided by the latest revelations.
Let's now turn our attention to some sporting stories. Nigeria's Super Eagles have qualified for the second round of the Africa Cup of Nations, Cameroon 2021, defeating Sudan 3-1 to do so. The win is their second, but will ease tension heading into the final group stage match against Guinea-Bissau. Samuel Chukwueze opened, scoring 3 minutes into the game, striking home from a Moses Simon pass. Taiwo Awoniyi got the second after a Trust Ekong header bounced off the striker and beat the Sudanese goalkeeper. Moses Simon joined the goal-scoring party just after the second half began, while Sudan got their consolation from the spot after Ola Aina fouled in the penalty box. Before we go, here is a kickers. A legal battle looms over plans to build Amazon's multi-million-dollar African headquarters on land cherished by South Africa's indigenous Khoisan people. Take a look.
These are the Khoisan. They are descendants of South Africa's first inhabitants. They regard this site by a river in Cape Town as holy. It is where their ancestors fought against Portuguese and Dutch settlers. So, when US company Amazon announced last April that it would set up its African headquarters here, there was outcry. A collective has been set up in response to Amazon's project, which includes the construction of a 70,000 square metre office space. The group has vowed to stop the online retail giant from desecrating their sacred land.
It is the most important heritage fight that we have as South Africans, because if we cannot take a stance in terms of what we consider important in our lives and what are the principles that our ancestors throughout time have fought for, we are sitting with the challenge, morally speaking, that will be very difficult to accept.
Amazon has kept quiet, but developers promised to build a cultural centre run by the local communities. For some Indigenous representatives, this represents a victory. The First Nations collective has rallied behind the project, which they say could honour their people's memory.
Campaign to undo all of that, and we are calling on those not to undo it. It's unnecessary. Come and sit with the First Nation collective and engage on your concerns.
Liners accuse the developers of using a divide and conquer tactic. Environmental groups fear the huge complex may affect the area, which is located in a flood zone. The city of Cape Town has given the go-ahead though. It points to the 5,000 jobs that Amazon will create in a country with 35% unemployment.
And with that story, we come to the end of the news hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms for more news, updates, and programs. My name is Chijoke Okafo. Many thanks for watching and goodbye for now.